Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today to our first story. And the Ghana Independent Broadcasters Association may soon be heading to court to seek clarification on a new broadcasting law by the National Media Commission. Parliament last month passed the new legislative instrument, LI 2224, part of which, among others, states that an operator shall not convey or permit to be carried content on a public electronic communication service or a broadcasting service without obtaining a content authorization from the Commission. That's the National Media Commission. Failure to obtain the permission attracts a fine of not less than 5,000 units or a term of imprisonment of not less than 2 years and not more than 5 years, or to both the fine and term of imprisonment. But private legal practitioner Egbert Fibil, however, believes the move by the National Media Commission will not be in the interest of the ordinary Ghanaian.
It is preposterous, for example, to request of multimedia that any time that multimedia is going to air its flagship program, let's say News File, it should bring the topics it is going to, let's say, discuss. You understand? But I see a situation where, for instance, at the beginning of the year or as the licensing regime requires, multimedia will, as an example, take, so this is News File. This is, if you like, the program format of News File. We'll look at politics and topical national issues. When it is that, I don't think that anybody has a problem. But when you go to a certain level, as is being, portrayed now, that the content of a particular, show or program on electronic media ought to be cleared with the Media Commission before, it is dangerous. It would be preposterous to live in such a regime. It is unacceptable. If it is up to the simple issue of just reporting to NMC that this is my program profile, I don't think anybody has a problem with it. But when you posture, as is being done now, that program content ought to be cleared with the Media Commission before it is aired, then if you situate it in the light of Article 162(4) of the 1992 Constitution, it makes it very clear. It says editors and publishers of newspapers and other institutions of mass media shall not be subject to control or interference by government, nor shall they be penalized or harassed for their editorial opinions and views on the content of their publications. This is a clear constitutional right, Article 1624. But I'm also not unmindful of the fact that just beneath Article 1624, the Constitution also provides Article 164. And I read that the provisions of Articles 162 and 163 of this Constitution are subject to laws that are reasonably required in the interest of national security, public order, public morality, and for purpose of protecting the reputations, rights, and freedoms of other persons. If you go through this, proviso, as provided in this Article 164, it says that, yes, you have the freedom, but this freedom is subject to laws that are reasonably required. The question is, LI 2224.
Yeah.
Is it reasonably required? I would say no at this critical point in our national development aspirations, because if laws in the interest of national security, the Criminal Procedure Act or the Criminal Act 29, Criminal and Other Offences Act, has several consequences or punishments or laws that deal with it. So the law on causing fear and panic, for instance, has been brought against certain persons who have used the media and the rest. So why is it necessary that we don't have to clear content before? If you have the law on causing fear and panic, we have laws against publication of obscene materials and pornography and the rest. The laws of defamation are already in existence. So why then do you refrain from using those laws to regulate the media and then go to the point where now I even want to see what you want to put out? I think that it is a serious curtailment of the freedoms of the media as enshrined in the 1992 Constitution.
But the National Media Commission maintains the move is just to streamline activities of media owners in the country. George Sapon is Executive Secretary of the National Media Commission.
Everywhere, the broadcaster has a responsibility to institute internal, we call them gatekeeping processes, to make sure that their networks are not abused to the detriment of society. So all that this law is saying is that anybody who occupies or who controls the means of public communication also has a responsibility to the society. and that the society, through this law, will hold that person accountable. And so it has nothing to do with presenters or journalists or editors. There is no country in the world where you can carry on broadcasting in the nature that we do without any kind of authorization. You need sometimes a full license to broadcast everywhere in the world. Now, there are two systems. In countries that have converged regulators, and when we say converged regulators, we have regulators who have authority to regulate both technical specifications, including the spectrum, and then regulation of content. In some countries, both elements are merged. So in the United Kingdom, for example, when Ofcom gives you a license, that license contains two permissions. One is the permission to use a frequency for broadcast. Two is to carry content on that frequency. It is the same in the United States. In many other countries, the situation is different. When you have two different regulators or non-converged regulators. In Ghana, we have non-converged regulation. So the National Communications Authority regulates the spectrum and technical specifications. So when they give you a license, that license contains only one permission, which is the permission to use the spectrum. So you need an added permission for the carriage of content to make the license whole, as is the case in the United States or in the case of UK. So broadcasting regulation, this is very consistent with international best practice.
Let's turn our attention to some politics now. And the 2012 flag bearer of the Convention People's Party, Dr. Abu Sakara, has announced his decision to contest the 2016 presidential elections as an independent candidate. Dr. Sakara made known his decision in a release last night, explaining his action as directed at providing a more focused platform for national interest and nation building. Spokesperson for Dr. Sakara, Tete Baolo Enyawe, tells Joy News the 2012 CPP flag bearer is hopeful of changing the status quo with his decision.
The central theme of his decision is simply premised on his vision of how Ghana ought to be. And he thinks that the current political discourse has not helped the country much. You and I know that the extreme partisanship has brought us nowhere. Look at the current situation a situation whereby people who are competent enough to handle certain things in our country don't have that opportunity simply because they are not in the right political color. Indeed, those who don't even join any political parties seem to be out of the equation, if I may put it. So he is creating this national interest platform to galvanize that support base in our nation. Because it looks as if some few people have hijacked this nation. And when it comes to political discourse today, if you speak your mind about any subject, you are either tagged with A or B, thereby stifling proper discourse. And we think that this platform will open up the political space.
Again, I'll come to my main issue of, well, he seems to have a pretty good plan, pretty interesting plan, but before you can implement this plan, you need to be president. Standing alone as Dr. Abu Sakara, really, one would say your chances are not that bright.
I think that the problem with most of us is that paths that have not been traveled before, we always have difficulty with this. The fear of the unknown is what normally inhibits or hinders us from making progress. Therefore, after all, just near us in West Africa, Benin has done it. They are only one. And whatever takes place in other jurisdictions, given the same condition, can happen here.
And do you think the country is ready for something like that? The electorates are ready for such a thing?
The electorate will only be ready if they hear your message and you are able to convince them that what you are telling them is credible. Then they will move with you. Nobody, no political party owns any electorate in this country. No political party, not even their core supporters. Nobody owns them. Anybody can change his mind. So that's it.
Now, many are suggesting that the seeming rift or disagreement between Dr. Abu Sakara and the former chairman of the party, I'm speaking of Samia Nkrumah, could be the reason for Dr. Sakara's departure. Is this one of the many reasons?
To the best of my knowledge, I'm not aware of any rift between Dr. Sakara and Samia. Because if there is a rift, I believe you, the media, would have already sniffed and brought it to light. For now, I'm not aware of any seeming rift between the two of them. In any case, she's no longer the national chair. So why should there be any rift between Honorable Samia and Dr. Sakara?
The CPP, however, says Dr. Sakara's decision to leave the party will not in any way affect the party's chances in this year's general elections, adding that the party remains focused ahead of the general elections. Niyama Komfa is General Secretary of the Convention People's Party.
Obviously, want all our members to remain with the party, particularly given the process that we followed going back to April. We've gone to energize our structures. We've traveled the country, 275 constituencies in 10 regions. We've had elections upon elections, and we are almost there with our plans begun under the old administration, continued under this administration. We will elect the flag bearer at the end of this month. And so we are confident that all that we need to do as a party we're doing. It's a bit of a surprise for us to hear on the news or from a press release to the media that Sakara's decision. And we will appeal to him to think through his decision, but we will await to see what he submits to the House. We've drawn up plans for the election year.
Okay.
We've drawn up a plan which has taken us from the old administration to the new administration. Began as far back as April. We're almost there with the election of the flag bearer. Then we'll roll an election-year plan, a very vigorous plan for every branch, for every single person in the party, which delivers hope, will bring hope to Ghanaians, which will seek to deliver a new future for Ghanaians. So we're confident, we're hopeful that we have a plan to energize our thoughts. It's a bit of a surprise, but we'll wait, as I said, to see what.
Is this particular decision by Dr. Abu Sakara likely to have any impact whatsoever to the chances of the CPP as we move into this year's general elections?
I think that as we've already heard on many media platforms, the CPP has the intellectual capacity, has the intellectual ability with numerous people to be able to deliver for Ghana. We want every single individual to be on board, but it's a personal decision, and we'll wait to see what is done.
A cross-section of Ghanaians have meanwhile been expressing their views on Dr. Abu Sakara's decision to leave the Convention People's Party.
I know him to be the former flag bearer of the CPP. I have not had any encounter with him personally, but then I've seen him, appear on shows and speak about matters concerning agriculture, and sometimes he amazes me by his in-depth knowledge as far as agric is concerned. So I believe such a person, you don't need to be the president to have an impact on the country. I believe Ghana, we have so much problems. If we should seek the assistance of such individuals, they can really be of help. Somebody of his stature, somebody of his pedigree, somebody of his social standing, right, who has been through the mill, gathered all this experience, both academic and otherwise, I think will be useful for the party. So his exit, I believe, will cause the party a great deficiency, because CPP is currently not on the high as far as opposition prowess is concerned. So I believe that if he can be recalled, the better for them.
Some of his views were impressive during the presidential debate, so he made some impact. Once he has some following, if the followers decide to join him, it will affect CPP as to numbers. But overall impact will be very, very less.
I don't really know much about Abu Sakara, so I don't know the impact he has made so far. But if he thinks he's going independent and it's good for him, so be it. But I don't know. For CPP, for aside the two major political parties we have, any other party, I don't know they are going to make any other good impact. So it's either they merge, the small parties merge, and make one big party. For Abu Sakara leaving, I don't know whether he's going to succeed or not.
Now, for me, actually, I'm not a fan of politics, so I just know the name. He was, I think, the flag leader, the flag bearer for CPP. Yeah, that was 2012 election year. Yeah.
Well, let's still stay with some politics and elections, and this time I'll turn our attention to the security angle. And Interior Minister Mark Woyongo has called for a special equipping of border control agencies to control the proliferation of arms in the country, especially for this election year. Mr. Woyongo says the retrieval of over 1 million live bullets from Volta region and firearms from the Ashanti region should cause the country to prioritize the issue of arms. Beatrice Edo is at a workshop organized by the Ministry and the Small Arms Commissioner Dodowa in the Eastern region and joins us on the line now with a bit more. So, Beatrice, what other details do you have?
First, he is asking that the border control agencies they should be given the requisite tools that would help them monitor, detect, and seize ammunition. And what those ammunitions or arms, and one of those is to ensure that they are given firearms. And he said that already the bill is before Parliament, and they are hoping that the next session it will be passed by the House. Now, one other thing he talked about is the training of personnel from these agencies and also a better collaboration so they could share ideas on dealing with trends of arms proliferation. And to add to that, the second point is actually the reason for this workshop that is currently ongoing. And Mr. Woyongo also says that the security agencies have started drafting a special plan to deal with this other related security issues. And let me add that he refused to disclose what that special plan is for the election.
Well, many thanks for that particular update. Beatrice Edo is correspondent on that particular beach, but there's a lot more from that workshop at Dodowa where the Interior Minister has been speaking to journalists. You're still watching News Today here on Joy News Multi TV. We're taking a break. We'll be back shortly with some more. Many thanks for staying with us here on News Today. We can do some more stories now, and this time around, we turn our attention to the health sector, where the Ridge Hospital, as part of measures to deal with congestion at the facility, has set up a 10-bed temporary structure to deal with the issue. Reports of overcrowding at the facility caused many to wonder the effect it was likely to have on healthcare delivery. My colleague Matilda Homega has been to the facility. She joins me now in studio with a lot more on what she's gathered so far. So, Matilda, you visited the Ridge facility this morning. Yeah. What did you see? Compared to what I saw 2 days ago, I would say that the situation has improved. Yes, because last week, the situation at Ridge was terrible. People were being attended to on benches and all that at the OPD. The OPD was virtually choked. There was no way to pass through and all that. And they couldn't tell what exactly was accounting for the increase in at the OPD. So they set up this structure, which is a 10-bed facility to deal with the emergency cases that are coming in, because they tell me that officials at the hospital tell me that they can't turn people away because they do not have beds. So certainly they have to see to them, especially those who come in who are very critical, who come in very critical issues. Okay. They have to attend to them. So that is how come they set up this 10-bed facility. And I've been speaking with the one in charge of that particular unit at the OPD, and she has been sharing some thought on this facility that has been set up.
Now, due to the opening of the new triage, we've moved all the emergency cases to the triage. So as you can see, the OPD is now free. The chairs are now free. First, we were nursing about 35 to 40 patients on the benches here. But now, due to the opening of the new triage, the place is free for the patients to use now as OPD. No more bench nursing at the OPD now.
So tell us more about this triage.
This triage basically is a unit that receives emergency cases that are referred to the Ridge Hospital, and as equally unreferred cases that they brought to the Ridge Hospital for us to nurse. So what we normally do is we triage all the cases over there, and if the place is full, we still resuscitate the patient, and then if we realize that you are a bit okay, that we can refer to a nearest facility for further treatment, refer you to the nearest facility.
So when you say triage, when you triage them, what exactly do you mean by that?
It means you sort out patients who are critically ill. Do you understand? As we have a lot of patients here now, you have to sort them out. Those who are critically ill will be attended to first to save life before others follow. Everybody is a patient who is critically ill, who is ill, but some are critically ill. Their condition needs urgent attention. That's what we mean by triaging them. We quickly attend to them first.
Okay, so that was a medical officer there. I still have Matilda Homega here with me in studio. So you did speak to her and she mentioned all these things. But we know Rich has been in the news for quite a lot of things recently. I mean, they've been protesting the appointment of one Anaba, also one doctor, a superintendent doctor also at the facility.
The medical director.
Okay, so what's the update on that situation as well?
Yes, now the health ministry has issued, issued a warning to both factions that they should cease fire. They have received the petitions from them, and they are going to look at the real concerns that are being raised by these parties regarding the appointment of Dr. Anaba. So they are asking that for now, no one should keep on agitating. Their main focus should be delivering health care to people who come in at the facility. And, you know, some few days ago, there were red bands all over. Today, when I went to the hospital, nothing of that sort. I didn't see anything of that sort. It means it looks like the doctors are adhering to the directive. So I've been speaking with Tony Goodman, who shed some lights on the reason why they had to call them to cease fire now.
Right. The current state is just simple. That is what we issued in that statement, that we've received 2 petitions from that hospital, and the ministry wants to study the particular petitions brought from the hospital, because at the end of the day, they have made some issues clear in that petition and we want to look into them. We were taken aback when we heard that they had gone to put banners and red bands there. As a ministry, we thought that would hinder on healthcare delivery in that hospital. So the only thing we are saying is that they should cease fire, they should hold their fire and wait for us to finish answering to the petitions they brought to the ministry. Then all of us can see the way forward. That is the only way we can serve the people for which that hospital was being built.
So studying the petition that was presented doesn't mean setting up a new committee to look into the allegations, or still the council that is going to look into it?
No, as a ministry, we will look at it, which other means appropriate. As mentioned in the statement, we say we'll follow due process. We will look at what is right to be done. We will not use measures that would not help the cause. We'll explore various due processes and see which one is appropriate. If forming a committee is the way to go, we'll do that. If advice and Public Service Commission to take other actions, we'll do that. We'll explore various means and see how best we can resolve this problem.
So the health ministry has also directed the senior staff members at the Kolebu Hospital to also cease fire whilst they look into the concerns raised by them over Dr. Buckle, the CEO of Kolebu. So they've also asked them to cease fire. He wouldn't go to give much details on exactly what is happening here.
We'll keep our eyes on that, but many thanks for your time on News Today, and that was Matilda from our health desk here at Joy News, and we can do some more stories now. The National Disaster Management Organization has presented some relief items to the Nsawam Adroje Municipal Assembly for onward presentation to victims of the Paibo Quarry explosion. Receiving the items, the Municipal Chief Executive Ben Aye bemoaned the situation where some political leadership will score political capital from the situation by jumping from one radio station to the other. He specifically took on the Member of Parliament, Frank Anodompe, for doing that. Gavivina Tamaklu, head of relief at NADMO, said NADMO never neglected victims of the explosion and that they were putting together materials. According to him, NADMO had to assess the situation carefully before coming to the area. Joining me over the telephone lines now with a lot more on this is Edwin Kofi Siao, who is live on the ground now. So, Kofi, good afternoon. Many thanks for your time. So, what more can you tell us about this particular situation there?
Well, for some weeks now, there's been an explosion in Paibo, which is very close to Nsawamo Adrenji constituency or district. So, there were complaints that government or NADMO has neglected the people in the area. But NADMO today presented relief items, and that included about 800 pieces of wood, and that is going to help those affected to, rebuild their roofing. And it didn't come alone. They also presented some bundles of roofing sheets to the municipal assembly, which will be which will be forwarded to those victims. And presenting the items, one Gavina Tamaklo, who is the head of relief and reconstruction at NADMO, says government has never neglected the people of Paibo, and that they needed to take a serious or very good assessment of what the situation is before they can come in with relief items. They don't just get up and say, well, because people have been affected, so they just go there and present the items. He was actually referring to some comments made by the Nsawamo Adrenji MP, that is Frank Anodompre. So he said Anodompre should, calm down and, listen to how NADMO works before he can jump in with his comments.
Right. Many thanks for that particular update. Edwin Kofi is our correspondent in the Eastern region. He joined us over the telephone lines now with an update on that particular situation and the fact that the National Disaster Management Organization has presented some relief items to the survivors. You're still watching News Today here on your Joy News channel on Multi TV. Time now for business. So let's talk money now on News Today, and here's Emmanuel with all the cash.
Yes, the cash is here. And you remember last December, the U.S. Federal Reserve, decided to increase its interest rates, and there were worries that it could affect developing countries. But luckily, Ghana is safe.
Oh, really?
It didn't affect us too much.
Oh, interesting.
The details
so does that mean more loans for us?
Well, not exactly. Okay. Not exactly. Okay. But it means it's a positive note for businesses in the country.
Sure.
All right. Okay, so the details. There's no cause for worry over the new withholding taxes introduced by the revised Income Tax Act, as compliant taxpayers would eventually be spared at least future payments. That's according to the head of the tax policy unit at the Ministry of Finance, Atani Delali, in response to the concerns raised against taxes despite the suspension of implementation of that on investment earnings. Prominent among the taxes is the withholding taxes on services, which has been increased from 5 to 15%. In an exclusive interview with Joy Business, Mr. Delali admits the possible negative implications of the taxes on businesses, but insists many have gotten it all wrong.
It's a misunderstanding, maybe the education on it has not been too good. Withholding tax is not a final tax. It's not a final tax, so you cannot say we have imposed. We are withholding. Withholding. It's a temporary withholding. So for people to cry and say we have increased it, so we have imposed a tax, no. The only thing I agree and understand is that it's going to, shall I say, eat up your capital. Because you need money, you need income to work. But there's a provision in the law that says that the Commissioner General, upon satisfaction that the taxpayer is a good taxpayer, will exempt that person from withholding tax. So yours is just to prove that you are a good taxpayer. Commissioner General will not impose withholding tax on you.
Mr. Delali further stresses that higher withholding taxes are only meant to enhance tax compliance.
As for withholding tax, it's shall I say, a compliance tool. I place withholding tax 15% on you. But you also, you know that no, actuality, at the end of the year, it's only 5% that we may get from you. So the moment you place 15% on you, you come and file. When you file, you get your money back. But it's a strategy, and I think it's a strategy. You can criticize it, but when you put the good and the bad together, the provision in the law says that the good ones exempt them. So the good ones come to be exempted. The bad ones too. Some of them run away. When they run away, you still have your 15%. But when you place 15% on such a person, he will come because it's too much. And when he comes, you will not have records of him.
So the revised income tax law, which has culminated in these tax reviews, is part of the country's tax reforms to enhance revenue mobilization. And still staying in business, the Ghana cedi and government bonds have not been affected by the recent interest rate hikes in the U.S. The central bank in that country in December 2015 increased its interest rate by 0.25%, the first in about 10 years. There were fears that this could negatively affect developing countries like Ghana, but George Wiafe reports this has not been the case in Ghana, at least for now.
It was feared the action by the U.S. Central Bank to increase their lending rates will result in some investors who have bought into securities of governments in countries like Ghana return to the U.S. market because of this development. This might put a lot of pressure on the Ghanaian government, as it might have to look for more dollars to pay off these investors who had bought into the government securities. For some economists, this could put a lot of pressure on the Bank of Ghana's dollar reserves, which could threaten the current marginal stability the Ghana cedi is enjoying. However, engaging some of the commercial banks in the country that buy these bonds on behalf of these offshore investors, there hasn't been any request from their clients to withdraw out of these bonds and treasury bills. For some, the developments support the initial doubts that developments in the U.S. might not affect Ghana that bad.
That was our correspondent, George Wiafe. Now crossing over to the Brahaf region, customers of some microfinance companies whose provisional licenses have been revoked by the Bank of Ghana are said to be demonstrating in Brekum, in that region. As you may recall, the Bank of Ghana, in a statement last week, revoked the provisional licenses of some 70 microfinance companies in the country. The action, according to the statement, was influenced by the expiration of the provisional license that was given to these 70 companies to operate. But reports Joy News is gathering this morning suggest that some clients have these facilities in the Bravo region are embarking on a demonstration. Well, we have correspondent Precious Semovo on the line to tell us more about the situation there. Hi, Precious.
Yes, hello.
Yes, quickly tell us what's going on right now in the Bravo region.
Well, in Brekum, what is happening is that close to 2,000 demonstrators who are customers of the various financial institutions that have been closed down, demonstrated demanding the release of their investment in some of these companies, including DKM, God is Love, Perfect Edge, and so on and so forth. They convened at Kato Lorry Park, where they were addressed by the MP for Brekum, Honorable Opoku Kwasiyado, as well as the Brekum East MP, Dr. Chum Nyama, who also addressed the gathering. But one funny thing is that the MP, while he tried addressing the gathering, was heckled so many times, he was hooted as the demonstrators say that his government has presided over this mess as the financial institutions. They have been in the system for years, but unfortunately, they did very little to protect their interests. That is what has been happening here. But he managed to assure them that government is taking all steps necessary to ensure that their investments are paid back to them. But the demonstrators, according to their leader, Alex Open, they are giving government some 2 weeks to ensure that they get their investment back. But according to them, if registered investment companies are closed down and they cannot get their money, what is the guarantee that banks in the Brekum municipality, including Barclays Bank, Bank of Ghana, and all the other banks that which are also registered, will not run away with their money? So if after 2 weeks and they don't get their money, they will ensure that all these banks will not function, including government institutions in Brekum, will not function after 2 weeks.
All right, thank you very much, Precious Semavo. That was our correspondent, Precious Semavo, in Brekumi, the Brunahaf region, telling us about agitations going on there following the ban of some 70 companies by the Bank of Ghana, microfinance companies, of course. That's it for business, and we're taking a break here. Sports comes up shortly.
And before we go, let's do some more stories now. And information coming in suggests that the ruling National Democratic Congress is calling on the Ghana police to arrest the running mate of the opposition New Patriotic Party, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. They said this in the press conference sometime this morning. My colleague Kocha Afreniamo was actually there. He joins me now in studio with the very latest on that. Afre, quite interesting, but what are their specific charges? What are the specific reasons why they want Dr. Bawumia arrested?
The General Secretary of the NDC, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, who addressed a press conference, explained that Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia, while the party was pushing for a review of the voters register, presented some forged documents. He says that he forged a public document, the country's electoral data. And this was all, once again, to enhance the argument for a push of the review of the voters register. Again, he says that they forged some figures there in the attempt for the voters register to be reviewed, the push there again. And he makes reference to the Supreme Court case where he says that the MPP at that time again presented forged documents to the Supreme Court. During that period, the Supreme Court, Johnson Asiedu Nketia says, did not take any action against them. But this time round, he's saying that the Ghana Police Service must certainly pick up Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia. But the question here is that, will the NDC itself report the matter to the police? When that question came up, General Secretary Johnson Asiedu Nketia again said that, well, the party will not be taking any action in that regard. Rather, they expect patriotic citizens like yourself, Chenchen, to report the matter to the police. Yeah.
Interesting. We'll see how that goes. We'll keep our eyes on that, and we'll bring viewers a lot more on this particular subject matter subsequently, particularly on The Pulse, our news analysis program, which airs at 3 p.m. on this very same channel. Time now for some entertainment. We're glad it's for Redu.